taking a closer look at a new notice that the U.S. Embassy issued for anyone planning spring break travel to Mexico.
Yeah, which is always a really popular destination.
Yeah.
It's so close for many right here in our state. The advisory is coming as Arizonans are questioning, though, whether it really is safe to book that trip there. So we want to get you to 12 News journalist Jen Wall live in the newsroom this morning with more on this one. Jen, you actually spoke with an expert who has decades of experience in analyzing travel to Mexico here, because, of course, Mexico's a big country. There are a lot of different parts of it that maybe some spots safer than others.
Yes, you got it. Good morning to you. So I spoke with Scott Stewart. He's worked with the U.S. State Department. He's also been a special agent with the Diplomatic Security Service, and he produced quarterly drug cartel reports. So he really knows a lot about analyzing security and safety across the entire country of Mexico. And we know spring break, it is just days away for Arizonans. I've spoken with friends who are thinking about traveling to Rocky Point, kind of on the fence about it. And so I was able to ask him a lot of questions about whether or not it's really safe with a lot of these advisories out from the U.S. State Department. So just days ago, the U.S. Embassy issued a message telling Americans to travel smart and be informed if heading to Mexico for spring break. The embassy says while most of the travel is safe, visitors do need to be aware of potential threats like crime and drugs. Rocky Point or Puerto Peñasco, a consistently popular travel spot for Arizonans, is under a level 3 travel advisory from the U.S. State Department. That's a recommendation for Americans to reconsider traveling there. So Stewart says right now there's a bad inter-cartel war going on across Sonora. That's the state Rocky Point is in. And that can make for a nerve-wracking drive for Arizonans making the trip from here in the valley across the state down to Rocky Point. However, Stewart adds the cartels don't typically want to target Americans and says millions vacation in Mexico every year with no problems.
But generally, the ones that do have problems are in places where they really shouldn't be at times they shouldn't be. That can include driving after dark. So if you have viewers that are looking to drive down to the coast, they really should try to make that transit during the day. If possible, use the toll roads, which tend to be safer than the other highways.
So Stewart says if you are driving, common sense planning is best. Make sure your vehicle is well maintained, you have enough gas. Flashier vehicles, he says, so those like large four-wheel drive trucks, Hummers or Jeeps, can at times draw attention of the cartels. So also try to drive in a caravan and keep in mind if your vehicle matches that description. Now I checked for advisories in other popular Mexican travel spots, Cancun and Cabo. They both have level 2 travel advisories, which means increased caution for travel. And then Puerto Vallarta is a level 3, just like Rocky Point. And then there are some states that do have the highest advisory level, which the U.S. State Department is saying do not travel there, not recommended at all. So you can go to their website to find out more about which states those exactly are if you are planning to go somewhere else across the country. Coming up live in 1 hour at 6:30 a.m., we talked a lot more about security, plus Stewart's recommendation for travel insurance as far as health insurance goes. That's something that I've never really thought about, to be honest, when I'm going overseas or maybe just making the drive to Mexico. So he has some really great tips for anyone planning anything like that anytime soon. For now, we're live in the newsroom. Jen Wall, 12 News Today, Nazy.